Alright boys and girls, I hope you're all having a lovely day, okay? Today boys, I want to talk to you guys about AEW Fight Forever. Now, I've been excited for this game, lads, for a very long time, okay? I remember when it was first announced and I was like, oh my god, an AEW game, I need that in my life. And finally it's here, lads, and I really want to talk to you guys about this game, okay? I've been seeing a lot of like mixed reception on this game, like over the internet. I've seen a lot of like big AEW fans like hype this game up and say how much they love it, and then I've seen other people say that this game isn't good. You know, I've seen a lot of mixed stuff. And I've had this game for about a day and a half, okay? I've not had it nearly as long as a lot of people. Like, a lot of people got review codes to this game. Obviously I didn't, but I still feel like I can give you guys a solid opinion on this game. You know, I've played it long enough now to where I feel like I can give you guys a good opinion on it. But before we do that, lads, I do want to say this review is going to be a teensy bit biased, okay? And the reason for that, lads, is I'm just a huge AEW fan. As a kid, I used to love wrestling. It was like one of my favorite things ever, okay? Obviously I used to love WWE, like who didn't? I remember when we moved house as a kid, okay, and my dad decided that he was going to cancel our Sky subscription because we just couldn't afford it. So I didn't have Sky anymore, so I couldn't watch WWE. But I discovered this little thing called TNA, lads, which is free to watch at the time, and I loved TNA, okay? I liked WWE a lot, but TNA was just like, that was my childhood. And obviously because I loved wrestling video games, okay? I played so many wrestling video games, it's not even funny. I've got a couple of them here, lads. Of course, we've got Here Comes the Pain. I mean, who doesn't remember this absolute classic? That front cover with Brock Lesnar on it would just forever be iconic in my eyes. And then we got possibly my favorite wrestling game of all time, okay? And that's SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I remember when I got this for Christmas, okay? And I just played it every day. I fucking loved this game.
Those were the days.
And then we've got TNA Impact, the game, okay? Another game that I did get for Christmas, and of course, you know, I fell in love with TNA, so I had to get the game. And of course, I've got a ton of really good childhood memories with this game. You know, I had a lot of good times with this one. So obviously, I've grown up with all these wrestling games, lads, okay? I love them to death, okay? But unfortunately, I sort of fell out of love with wrestling, you know, as I got a little bit older. And it wasn't until about a year ago when I started to get back into wrestling, okay? And that reason is AEW. And again, that's why this review might be a little bit biased, because AEW made me fall in love with wrestling again, okay? I've been watching it for like over a year now. I watch it every single week, so I can't help but love the fact that AEW has made a game, okay? So again, that's why this review might be a little bit biased. Just bear that in mind. Okay then, boys, enough of the backstory, okay? Let's talk about AEW Fight Forever, okay? Now, the first thing that I've seen a lot of people complain about is the graphics. I can't tell you how many times on Twitter I've seen someone compare this to looking like a PS2 game. Like, I've just seen it a lot, like people just criticizing the way the game looks.
You're ugly, you're disgusting.
Me personally though, lads, I don't even think it looks bad, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's not a super realistic graphics look, like, you know, the character models look very sort of cartoonish, but I think that suits the game quite well. Like, the way the gameplay is, it's very old school, it's very arcadey, you know, and if the game looked super realistic, I just don't even think it would fit right. And it's clear the budget for this game is not up there with like the WWE 2K games, you know, they haven't got that same kind of budget, so it was pretty obvious that, you know, this game was never gonna have like mind-blowing graphics. But again, I don't think it looks bad, you know, it doesn't look amazing, it's not one of the best looking games on PS5 by any means, but I don't know, I think again, it just sort of suits the gameplay, it suits that arcadey vibe, and again, it just feels like I'm playing an old school, you know, wrestling game, and I like that personally. But speaking of gameplay, lads, and like the arcade style of this game, how does it play? Like, does it feel good? Does it, you know, what's it kind of like? I really like the gameplay. It's probably the highlight with this game. Again, it just sort of brings me back to those old school wrestling games like Here Comes the Pain, but the wrestling game it actually reminds me of the most is Def Jam. If anyone's ever played Def Jam Vendetta or Def Jam Fight for New York, the gameplay to this game is eerily similar. Like, in this game, the way it works is you want to sort of build up your momentum meter, okay, which is like this meter, and like the more moves you do, if you're just beating the shit out of everyone, then that's gonna, you know, get higher and higher and higher, and you can also use taunts. Once you've built it up enough, okay, it's gonna basically give you a finisher, and that's exactly how Def Jam Vendetta works. That's obviously how a lot of other wrestling games work, you know, it's not just Def Jam, but it just reminded me of Def Jam, the way I was building up to that finisher. Yeah, it's very clear with this game, lads, that it's not to be taken too seriously, okay? Again, it's super arcadey, and they just kind of want you to have fun. The gameplay is by no means realistic, okay? If you're looking for more of a simulation wrestling game, then this is not going to be it. I think WWE 2K will be more your sort of style. This, again, is just all about the pure chaos and the pure fun. If you've got a couple of mates who are into wrestling, then you are going to have a blast of a time with this one, okay? Because, again, it just plays like those old school arcadey wrestling games. Okay, then, boys, next I want to talk about the match types, okay? This is one of the areas that I think is a little bit lacking. Like, the matches we've got right now, lads, are all of like the simple ones you'd expect, like 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2 and stuff. And then you've got ladder match, which you can't go too far wrong with, you know, who doesn't love a good ladder match? And then you've got Battle Royale, which is basically Royal Rumble. And then you've got the big one, which is Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch, okay? And this is definitely the best game mode.
It's so awesome, I love it.
It's so ridiculously over the top, okay? You'll throw your opponent into the ropes and they'll just fucking explode. And after about 2 minutes, the whole ring explodes, which will just damage you and your opponent, and whoever's closer to the ropes gets the most damage. And when you're playing it, like, there's just blood fucking everywhere. You can turn turn it off if you want, but I mean, who wants to turn off the blood? That's like the best part of a wrestling game, is seeing all the blood, and it's just all over the canvas. It looks like a damn slasher movie. I've probably played this one at least like 8 times, okay? I was loving the barbed wire deathmatch. So what we do have here is really good. Like, everything here is great, but it's more what we don't have, because that's all we got in terms of match types. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. Like, if you go back and play the old school, like, WWE games, you had backstage brawls, you had Hell in a Cell, you know, you had tons of, like, different game modes. And with this, there's not that many. I was kind of hoping for a couple more. Okay then, boys, let's talk about one of the most important things of a wrestling game, okay? And that is the roster, okay? Because, you know, what is your wrestling game without a good roster? And what we do have here, lads, is a lot of really great wrestlers. I mean, you've got all of the ones you'd expect to be there. You know, you've got Kenny Omega, CM Punk, you've got your Adam Pages and your Darby Allins. You know, the guys that you'd expect to be there are all there. However, there are quite a few people you would kind of, like, think that would be there that aren't. I know a lot of these wrestlers are coming via DLC, but I really feel like they should be in the base game. Like, FTR are currently a DLC, and they are currently AEW Tag Team Champions. Like, they really ought to just be in the base game. And I feel like AEW is getting a little bit of a pass with this one, you know, because I've seen other games do this sort of thing, and they get in, you know, they get in a little bit of controversy. Like, I can kind of understand certain wrestlers being, like, DLC, like, I don't know, like Danhausen. That makes sense for DLC. Like, wrestlers like that, to me, make sense for, you know, as DLC, but you don't put your most important wrestlers, like, behind DLC. I think that's kind of messed up.
I strongly disagree with this.
That'd be like if you bought a Star Wars game and you could play as Bosk and IG-88, but then Darth Vader was DLC, you know? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, lads, the final thing I do want to talk about is Road to Elite, okay, which is basically AEW Fight Forever's career mode. This is the thing that's probably going to sell you on the game, because it's probably going to be the area you're going to be spending the most time in. I haven't spent, like, a ridiculous amount of time on it, but from what I've played, I really enjoy it. It kind of reminds me of, like, a Road to WrestleMania from, like, SmackDown vs. Raw games. You know, I don't know if they still have it in the 2K games, but it just reminds me of that. And it kind of works how you'd expect any old career mode to work, you know? You've got your matches that you can do, you can work out, which is going to give you skill points. However, it will deplete your energy, so you do need to be careful, because, you know, if you work out too hard and you go into a match, you're basically going to have no stamina. You can dine out in this game mode, which will actually replenish your energy, so you can do a workout and then eat, and that will basically get your energy back up. And then there's an option to just go out and do whatever you want, okay? And the activities that, like, are very varied, so you can go out and do meet and greet, stuff like that. And that's going to bolster up your charisma, or you can do mini games, which I can't remember what it gives you. I think it gives you cash if you do mini games. And these mini games are just absolutely wacky, lads. Like, this is the type of shit you get in, like, Mario Party, you know? It's kind of a little bit weird, actually.
I'm not being funny. What the fuck is going on?
And the best part about Road to Elite is the different storylines here. Like, obviously, they're not, like, the most ridiculous stories you've ever played. You know, it's not going to blow your mind with, like, storytelling. It's your typical wrestling drama, you know, nothing too ridiculous here. Again, it's not going to blow your mind with the stories here, but it's just fun. And depending on whether you win certain matches and stuff, it will actually change the story, so that's pretty cool. So it definitely has that replayability, which is nice, and I definitely will replay it a couple of times. Again, I've not got super far into it yet, so I haven't finished it once yet, but once I finish it, I'm sure I'll play it again. So yeah, that's pretty much it with this game, lads. That's pretty much everything I need to talk about with this one, okay? Overall, I think this is a really good foundation. What we have here is really good stuff. I just feel like there should be a little bit more, you know, like, because there's not too much here. Again, I feel like there should be definitely a few more match types here. What we do have is great, but I just feel like there should be a few more match types. I feel like the roster should definitely have some more wrestlers in here. That, like, what we do have, again, is great, but I, again, just feel like there should be more wrestlers in that roster. And in general, I just wish there was a little bit more to do with this game, you know? I'm having fun with it right now, but am I going to be playing this game in 3 months' time? I don't know. I don't know if there's enough here for me to sink my teeth into. And I know this game is going to get supported down the line, but how much of it is going to be DLC, you know? How much am I going to have to pay in order to enjoy this game later down the line?
Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
But all in all, I'm having a great time with it, you know? I'm really enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to do some streaming with it today, so if you guys are watching this video now, then later on today, I will be streaming it. And if you're wondering whether or not you should get this game, it kind of depends. Like, if you're a massive AEW hardcore fan, like you just love AEW, then you're probably going to enjoy this game a lot. If you're like a casual sort of wrestling fan, you like wrestling, but maybe you're not ridiculously into it, then maybe wait for this one to go on sale. There's definitely something here, and what we have is great, but I just feel like there's just a little bit missing, you know, just a little bit. But again, I'm enjoying the game. Gameplay's fantastic, and if you've got friends who love wrestling, then you're going to have a good time with this one. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts, lads. Let me know if you've played this game yet and how you feel about it. So let me know in the comments if you're enjoying it. And other than that, boys and girls, I'll see you guys very soon.